Welcome everybody to our latest NAWP reading. We have some wonderful readers with us. For those of you who are new to the NAWP family, this series started, what is it, Mitch? Like 2 years? 3 years?
20, I think 23 is when we officially started doing readings, but we made not at AWP jokes on Twitter for like 2 or 3 years before that, probably.
Yeah, so this is a 4 to 5 year old idea that's
There
really had fruition in the last 2 years. It started as basically just two guys being having a lot of FOMO and wanting to be at AWP and not being at AWP, and we said, why don't we just call it NOP and we'll have our own thing. And so we've been doing open mics and launch readings and invites, and I think we had our first reading was a panel, and then I don't think we've done that since. Maybe we'll bring that back. But anyway, it's really lovely to have you all here. We have a wonderful group of readers, and I'm just gonna get us right into that. Our first reader um, is Victoria Buitron, and she is a writer who hails from Ecuador and resides in Connecticut. She received an MFA in creative writing from Fairfield University, and her debut memoir in essays, A Body Across Two Hemispheres from Woodhull Press, was the 2021 Fairfield Book Prize winner. In 2023, she received the Artistic Excellence Award from the Connecticut Office of the Arts, which also receives federal funding. She has been the series editor for the Connecticut Literary Anthology since 2023. Craig Arden, Tin House, Grub Street, Sundress Publications, Vona, and more organizations have championed her work through grants and writing residencies. Her debut collection, Unburying the Bones, is 2025's Verso Frontera inaugural prize winner via Texas University Press. It is out now. You can go get a copy. You should get a copy. And without further ado, Victoria, thank you for joining us.
Unmuting myself. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jared and Mitch, for hosting, for having us on. It's really an honor to get to do this with Taylor and Daniella. I think right before everyone was let in, we were talking about how a lot of us have met virtually or know of each other virtually, but have never really been. So I'm so happy because I've seen everything that Taylor and Daniela have done over the years, even before when X was Twitter, right? And so I'm so happy to be here. I can't wait to hear y'all read. So thank you so much. And thank you for everyone that's here tonight. So this is the new book. It's called Unburying the Bones. Every time I've had a few events this month, and I always want to read something different. So today I'm going to start off with a sestina because I felt like this audience would really appreciate a sestina. So here we go. This is called a sestina on an early childhood education. Play a lasting lullaby on an organ for your rage. A girl dances, a girl wants, a girl's desire. Wait to become a woman in blood flood, or before that, when a street walk is combat, you must learn all before you wake. Still, did you weep when curtsied into a bow? Decorate crumbs, and after I'll teach you to bow to the spire that holds light candied rage. Dress Ken in a Hawaiian shirt during Barbie's wake. Remember, as a woman, never inquire about desire. Learn that your voice can crawl him to combat. Ha, power. You plead to command a molasses flood. A brush fire doesn't always wash away a flood. And your head can't hold a crown, only a lethal bow. A woman can be too toy with friendly combat. In the anatomy of your teeth, the pulp caresses rage. Don't touch yourself. A body is not a temple for desire. Use your tongue to push a boulder to your master's wake. Be as sure as a rampant river that you want to wake, because in your mouth there's always a flood. Do not long, do not want to endure in desire. You can bow to him, But what matters are your hair bows and lip liner, and you can only scream at a rave rage because no one likes to hear a voice mired in combat. Underestimate your taste and what you can combat. Make sure you listen when he orders you to wake. The girls that don't know the definition for rage, but who know that crying shimmer is the only flood they can create with their bodies. An arrow, a bow, a sword. With all of these, you'll try to replace desire. Tell me, what will you beg for, if not desire? Or maybe the right to use Astilbe in combat. Do not confront the way his head refuses to bow. It's safer to be a girl in a dream than to wake as a woman, and the opposite of a flood is not a drought, but the talent to withhold rage. No, you can't choose vinyl dreams. Time to wake up, be good, and find mom's lost stilettos in the afterflood. I promise you that growing up is all the rage. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. All right. So I do want to mention that this next poem is probably the heaviest poem. It's called Woman Takes Revenge, and it does have to do with rape and sexual assault. So I just want to put that out there in case you want to just like walk away for a bit. But was inspired by what was on the news a lot last year, Giselle Pellicot's case. It was one of the last poems that I wrote for the collection, and it took me a while to get there because it was just bubbling up for so long, and I couldn't even read anything about what was happening in the news because I'd just like break down and sob. And then eventually this came out from all of my feelings about it. So this is called Woman Takes Revenge. My favorite quote from high school is Mi pluma lo mató, from an Ecuadorian politician about another politician, and I swipe right on profiles that say not political because I can't speak with someone based on a negation of reality. Because yes, everything is political is a cliche because it's true. Because going to the courthouse and sharing an elevator with a former abuser is political because so is that it takes a woman an average of 7 times to leave intimate partner violence, and in the hours and days after she leaves as when she is most capable of being murdered, because so is Giselle's choice to have a public trial. Wife takes public revenge, says the headline. If a trial is revenge, what is justice? So is that the judge reminds her not to use the word rape, but sex scene to protect the presumption of innocence, while recordings of the rapes were found in a folder labeled abuse. And it is merely September. Giselle will walk into court, sit in front of her alleged rapist until December. Until now, French politicians have been mum. An exception is Sandrine Josso, a politician who says another politician drugged her last year to rape her, allegedly, remember, allegedly. And more than 80 men, 49 on trial, one charged in absentia, and not one called the police, not one called her. Even an anonymous phone call could have saved my life. All men, even the ones who refuse to rape, remain silent. Giselle, my hero, no pen with which to slay, but may your voice annihilate them. Thank you. All right. Okay. So the initial title for the book was called Grief Ceremony. It was the one that I just had in mind and kept on going with. And when I was talking with the editor, he said, how like connected are you with the title? And I was like, well, I'm open to other suggestions. And we went through a lot of back and forth until we landed on Unburying the Bones. And he said, I remember very clearly, he's like, well, your book is not just about grief, it's also about rebirth and change, and also it's about revenge. And it was just very interesting to hear that. And so, and it was funny because it kind of wasn't like that clear to me, even though I knew that, in my heart of hearts, that's what some of the poems revolve around. But yes, there are a lot of revenge poems. So I did write a poem called Poem for My Revenge Poems. And this is it. I water them with lemon ginger tea and sweat. They carry clubs and my deep undoings, becomings. Sometimes a whisper sounds like a plight of loose ends. Perhaps they've committed wrongs mired in righteous rights. Ask questions when I created them to answer. May seem heavy, but somersault as feathers. Always untangle my incisors till glisten with the same comb they use to ripen scar tissue. While I sleep, they cross the bridge, light my past wildfire, eat bizcochos with rum, and unseek forgiveness from anyone but themselves. No God but guffaws. Bring me a sparrow skull, a treat of nectar neb. Taught me poems can't kill, but they sure can wound. Their mother's name is Victoria for a reason. Thank you. All right. All right. So I have here, I Pledge Allegiance. This is another poem I've not read yet, so I'm really happy to read it tonight. I pledge allegiance to Venus dimples and underarm whitening cream and tweezers and mirrors that will not be used to see if my mole is perchance now cancer, but if my back has rolls, vampire facials to avoid lines that say I've touched grass for too long and there should be no hair on knobs or a nose, and the skin above my lips should only be home to skin. An hourglass can tell time, and this body must not paint fingernails the color of his lust, not the satin silver that makes you wish, and there should be no mounds, but breasts, tender, no areola whiskers, and most of all, I pledge allegiance to pain so he can love the parts of me I never knew I had to change. Thank you. All right, so I have one more poem tonight. And this is, I think like this is, I feel like I do need to tell a little bit about the backstory. So at my previous job, I was there for about 10 years. And the last 5 years, in the summer from around May to late August, every time I would drive by, and I would drive like an hour away from Connecticut to New York, there would be by Greenwich, Connecticut, this nest of an osprey. And it wasn't until I started speaking to people who are like very avid birders that they told me that it's the same osprey every year and it's the same couple every year. And they told me more about when they migrate. And it was just very interesting because I first saw the bird when I was married, and then when I was divorced, and then when I was single. So it was kind of like this presence that I always counted on. And so I ended up writing this poem called Ode to Ruby because I ended up naming the ladybird. Ode to Ruby. I have named the osprey that lives by the I-95 on a line castle of a transmission tower, regal puff chest, nest tighter than jaws, seen almost daily on my way to and from work, Ruby. Not because you belong to me, but because somehow, in the perils of this grief, I have come to belong to you, to gaze upon me. Oh, what accidents have you seen? Ruby, I know you love a good brawl. Could have picked anywhere to lay babes, but at a highway bend is where you so chose. How loud is it when there's no traffic? When halts ease, when I do not drive by to surrender my day to you. Ruby, Why nest in the middle of ruckus? Is it you want to show off your wingspan? To remind us that we are confined to the commute, and your man who shall remain nameless feeds you trout? At first, I can't tell you apart. In flight, but alas, you're thicker, mightier. Oh, I miss you when you're gone. A surge of fear in absence, golden mornings, but I catch you in mid-soar tomorrow, as if saying, honey, worry for what? Ruby, are you scared of thunder? I'm not. But I think of you when bolts and lights and storms. I've seen you, summer downpour, on eggs, but somehow I know you are not drenched, that you were born for this. Come August, when the sweet sadness of mellowed heat comes, I prepare myself. Your departure, inevitable, as constant as your posture. Ruby, men have beeped at me. They want to get on. So do I. But I always slow to catch a glimpse, to hold my head in reverence. It's been a few years now. My life looks different from the first moment I gazed upon you. Oh, I wait for you. Your nest is always there, a reminder in leaflets and whiteouts. We always come home. Thank you. Everywhere books are sold. Thank you so much. And happy birthday, Taylor, who's up next. Yay.
Thank you so much, Victoria. You really know how to end a poem, but you really started us off here. It's really great. Thank you so much. Our next reader is Dr. Taylor Byas, PhD, and she is a Black Chicago native currently living in Cincinnati, Ohio, where she is features editor for The Rumpus, an editorial advisor for Jackleg Press, a member of the Beloit Poetry Journal editorial board, and a poetry editor at large for Texas Review Press. Her debut full-length I Done Clicked My Heels 3 Times from Soft Skull Press won the 2023 Maya Angelou Book Award, the 2023 Chicago Review of Books Award in Poetry, and the 2024 Ohioana Book Award in Poetry. Her second full-length, Resting Bitch Face, 2025, is a September pick for Roxane Gay's Audacious Book Club. She is also a co-editor of the Southern Poetry Anthology, Volume 10, Alabama, from Texas Review Press. And Poemhood, Our Black Revival, a YA anthology from HarperCollins. She is represented by Noah Gray Rosenweig at Triangle House Literary. Happy birthday, Taylor. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jared and Mitch, for having me. And thank you, Victoria and Danielle, for being my co-readers tonight. It's always really cool when you're like in the middle of a reading and you start realizing that like, oh, me and my co-readers, like we're like on the same page, like our books are in conversation. And so I'm even more excited to know that like our poems will kind of be speaking to each other. So I'm gonna be reading from Resting Bitch Face tonight. Which you know is a book about what it's like to be a woman in this world, to be under constant surveillance, to have to navigate a world in which there are very, very few sort of safe spaces, especially you know in this current moment. So I will start with the first poem in a series, a sort of important poem series in the book, Sculpture Study #1, Brooklyn, New York. And thank you all so much for being here. It's like a little birthday party, feels like. Sculpture Study #1, Brooklyn, New York. A woman's real first lesson about her body is nothing to write home about. The second lesson, one of colonization. It happens in a big city, the sidewalks gone half dust, and the woman believing, for once, there is something for her to claim. This complex ecosystem of space, improvised measurements to guess by, the swing of a tote bag, a soft circumference of hair. The woman is eyeing her way to the J train when a man, made faceless by the crowd, grabs her ass. There are two options: be crazy or be quiet while the incident reworks the DNA. There is one option, because the silence sires some sort of madness later. Right there on the corner, she stops, marbles against the summer heat, eases her hair from its rubber band to let something free. The faceless man hurts her to still life, an inanimate thing bedazzled in all the city's wet offerings, the day's earlier drizzle still drying, the humid air relentless with stickiness. What are we allowed to really be when we hurt in public, human or statue? As if she thinks this into existence, the evening sun glosses her brown skin in a coat of bronze and she grows into the ground. No one can tell the difference as they shuffle around her, give extra space. Look how gentle they are when there is no harm to be done. Okay. We're going to read. So at first I like avoided reading this poem because I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna read it, but now I figured out how I want to read it. Now I like reading it, but just so y'all can see, it's this one. It has like these boxes going on. And so I finally figured out the order that I like to read it in. So you'll hear me say like numbers that I'm entering a new section. It's about a difficult relationship and how the body sort of like how memory will do some crazy things to kind of protect us from things that were maybe not so pleasant. Investigation. 1. Could have colored my surprise. Coming across a picture of me in the old apartment, young and flushed in the living room's floor-length mirror. My memory glitches in the shadow of this evidence. The couch I dream in green glares ruby in the reflection. Our relationship emeralds in my remembering. A jade couch, the olive duvet, the forest pillowcase greened darker with tears. You hated green, never wore it. I wore it because it was my school color. Here, in the photograph, my black shirt, black jeans, the red couch. I would call to compare notes if there wasn't so much hate between us. How would you remember it? How would you remember me? In my head, I can see you laugh in this green sepia film. I watch the bruise from my birth control implant green in the already viridian thought. The lie of the couch again. Looking at this photo, I know nothing was ever green in that apartment that we decorated in the name of the tide, Alabama crimson. I know the truth is a wave wet mouthing the shore of how my other memories help this one take shape. The couch is green in memory, red in truth. God, how my memory is a red bruise disintegrating. 2. Green trees blurred to one unending ribbon on the highway in Birmingham. Green veins that verdant and certain light. Green-eyed envy, green two-tones, the jade suede couch fickle beneath my touch. Green of your money, green of the money I didn't have, green rot of uneaten salad in the sink, green nausea, green bile I hook from my throat. 3. Green bewilderment at the end of a deep bruise. Some colors are closer to life than others. Purple, the red-blue air of a cut. A bruise greens when hemoglobin breaks down, then yellows. Green nausea in the dermis. 4. The traffic light was green, gone peaky in the storm. You were so angry with my sluggish forgiveness. You had the signal to go, both here on this street and elsewhere. You could have just left me. Should have. The car behind us honks. I tell you softly to go. Look at all this encouragement. Okay, let's go for let's go for the title poem. So Resting Bitch Fish, the poem, which is what the book is named after. This poem is written because of the height of the pandemic when masks were being heavily mandated. I realized that men stopped telling me to smile because they couldn't see my face in its entirety to police it in the first place. And so thinking about that is what sort of gave birth to this poem. It has an epigraph from Spill by Alexis Pauline Gumbs. How did you get here? What trumped up troop of slave ship sloop put you here on my doorstep in your nastiness? Resting bitch face. Something about the set of my face says slave, cracks sharp in its stank and slits you uncomfortable. And what do you make of me again? In that gas station parking lot, in the grocery aisle in its fluorescence, when you tell me to smile for you. You too pretty to be frowning, makes a fugitive of me, shutters me closed for your business. You even smooth talk yourself into a lie, say smile and mean relax, mean open, mean peel back, mean lights, camera, action, put on a show for me. Last time I smiled for a man, my teeth sparked white in the dark of his bedroom, like police lights in a rearview mirror. What could I afford with that currency besides his violence? Smiling has never bought me tenderness, never tendered me a love that let my face be bitch, and ain't that what you gonna call me anyways? Whether I thaw out for you or not, don't this always end the same? The bright you coax from my mouth, snuffed out as soon as I show it to you. Okay, where do we want to go? Oh, this will be fun. So since today I am turning 30, I have a poem in the book. And Mitch just like cracking up with the musical rendition. That's how everyone has to announce that they're turning 30 from now on if you haven't, or whatever next decade you have to like sing it. So thank you. I'm a kid. Thanks, Mitch. I have a book in this poem, which is a Valentine's Day poem to myself at 25. It is not Valentine's Day, but it is a poem to my like 5 year ago self. I thought it would be very cute to read that today. So, a Valentine's Day poem to myself at 25. I know you too well, how you long for everything that chafes against your history. I watch you order yourself a bottle of wine, a steak greased in garlic butter. See you buy yourself new lingerie and still wish for another mouth to remove it. The remnants of a barrel-mouthed man stuck to the edges of you loving yourself. Girl, who you fooling? I know the temptation to perform for what ain't there, to hip into that garter belt like someone is watching from the doorway, humming their approval for the way that red lifts your ass in offering. To set up your camera, turn on the timer, and imagine its shutter clicks as the clucks of a lover's tongue before he details all the ways he'll unwrap you. All those years, and you never learned to fully taste anything. All the notes in a glass of wine, yourself. Got all those mirrors in your bedroom and ain't practiced a thing. You are yours, your own body to teach again how to heed a hand and whose. Been so long that you forgot the sound of your own name. In that mirror, call yourself to your own heat, to your own junction between your thighs. Look yourself in the eyes and know that you can love yourself if just so you can watch from the door, if only to look damn good while doing it. Say your name. Can't nobody say it like you anyway. Shout out to 25-year-old me. Okay, I think I'll do two more. Um, yeah, let's do this one. Okay, so this is a later poem in that sculpture study series. Actually, I will end on that one. Before that, I'll do In the war photography exhibit, I find so many things wrong. After Henry Hewitt's photos of Vietnam War, and it's a burning haibun, so it's prose poem, erasure, and then erasure to a haiku. 1. I do not name a specific exhibit because it doesn't make a difference. And each one is all the same. I gaze at black and white prints of children peeking through the blinds of gritty smoke, just dead bodies still opening themselves to feed what lives on. And what lives on must gaze into the camera. There is something about capturing the thing and looking, something about permission, being able to say, they saw me take it, so where's the harm? The photographer forgets they lend us their eye in the museum, that in their pictures they capture more of themselves than the death-ridden landscape. In the war photography exhibit, I look at a picture of a lifeless body ascending toward a helicopter. I know I'm supposed to think that this is something like going to heaven. I also know that there's no God here. 2, I do not make a difference. Gritty opening into the camera. There is the permission to harm, forget, capture the death-ridden exhibit, a body I'm supposed to know. 3, name a difference each photographer forgets. The body is something. And then I will end on this poem. It's written after Chuang Tran's book. It's called The Book of Other, The Book of the Other, or The Book of Other. But the whole entire book is written basically in fragments. So the period is just used kind of way more than you would expect. And so the poem is kind of written in that style. So if you hear me pausing more than usual, that is why. The violence of rain. A man told me to shut up, and I obeyed. I still haven't forgiven myself for letting my silence be on his time, his dime paid for my submission. He paid every bill in the house. I paid for my hair, for my nails, for not knowing better. We argued about money. I was worried about where he spent it instead of who he spent it on. That day, rage rented a space within me, then rented my lips apart. I said, money does not keep you home. I said, you green, then gone. I said, you splitting bills in hotels, bills on the nightstand, bills paid late, the lights off, the lights cut off. I said, I'm not paying for shit. You butted your forehead against mine, your lips kissed close, said, shut the fuck up. That was the first time you told me. The last time you had to. I shut down, shut up. I shut the fucking out. I didn't let you fuck me again. You fucked off, fucked outside our house like the animal you were. I was so quiet in everything I said. I was a whisper. I was wind, tornado forming in your face. I looked still because I was coming toward you. You said, shut the fuck up, and I was rain. How you can only hear it when it strikes something. How it punctuates is a period, splintering into more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Taylor. It was wonderful. And Victoria's already clamoring for a panel on cursing in poetry. So we'll work on that, figure it out for next year, maybe. Thank you so much. Wonderful poetry. I can't wait to brag to my students who I've been talking about you all semester since they've been writing about you. So just like, all right, I have my cred now. I got to see Taylor read. Our next reader is, if I can find the bio, give me 2 seconds. There we go. Is Daniella Toosie-Watson. And Daniella is a writer, visual artist, and author of What We Do with God, Haymarket Books, 2025. She's been published in The Atlantic, The Paris Review, Oxford Poetry, Callaloo, Victoria Quarterly Review, and elsewhere. Her honors include the 2024 Oxford Poetry Prize shortlist, the 2020 Discovery Poetry Contest, and a graduate Hopwood Award and Zell Fellowship from the University of Michigan Helen Zell Writers Program, where she received her MFA in poetry. Daniella lives in New York. Thanks for joining us, Daniella.
Hi everyone, can you hear me okay? Excellent. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here amongst my Twitter colleagues. I know mostly everyone here from Twitter, and so, well, when it was Twitter. Anyway, I'm so glad to be with you in virtual real life. Wow, this reading, I feel so... I've been just experiencing, especially this week, that's a dog in the background, lots of mirrors in my life presenting themselves in really beautiful ways. And this reading is proving to be another. I often wait until I hear the other folks' poems before I decide what poems I'm gonna read. So I'm like in conversation in some way. And it's really, I just feel really held, and I hope that what I read can hold you back if that's what you want. The offer is there. So happy birthday, Taylor. Thank you so much to not AWP for having me. And let's read some poems, shall we? So my first book is in the world now. It's called What We Do with God. And the artist, like, this cover I love, and I'm just, ooh, so thank you, artist who made it. I I always start with the epigraphs because I feel that context is important. And so the epigraphs for the book, I'm gonna read those first, and then we'll get into the poems. So the first epigraph is from Carl Phillips, and it reads, "You shouldn't look at me like that, like one of those saints on whom the birds once settled freely." And then the second epigraph is from Zora Neale Hurston, and it says, "It was grotesque, yes, but it indicated the desire for beauty." And so these poems that I'm going to read, one, are going to be me sort of responding to violence, and reclaiming, the speaker reclaiming themselves. The last thing I'll say before I read the poems is that my first introduction into like a literary writing community was Callaloo, a creative writers workshop, and my mentor from Callaloo, Vivi Francis, talked about not, replicating the violence on the page, but reclaiming the self on the page. And so these poems that I'm going to read in response to your beautiful readings, Victoria and Taylor, are reaching towards that. Okay, The Bug is the opening, the preface poem for the book, and we're going to start there as a contextualizing poem. The Bug. I couldn't let it drown. I ripped off a piece of my sandwich bag, lifted it to safety. Its little legs reached behind its back to stroke its wings dry. I, too, have stretched my legs in strange positions. Is this a leap? What did you expect? For me to let the bug just be a bug? To leave it alone when it already planned on dying? To reach out and not imagine myself the god I wish would lift me from the water? something I just love for me is that, like, I don't know, sometimes I just get annoyed when people don't mind their business. And sometimes the poems have these little, like, mind your business moments without saying mind your business, but mind your business. Uh, not you all. You all can be in my business because I'm reading poems right now. Anyway, you know who you are, people in the world. So this next poem is called Pobre Charlie. And I've never actually read this poem at a reading before, and so this is exciting. Um, for content warning, there's a mention of suicidal yes, it is an exclusive. Suicidal ideation and yes, okay, and animal, like, violence with animals, against animals. Pobre Charlie. Charlie the llama was attacked by a Rottweiler while Mom wasn't watching. Back in the day in the Bronx, Mom left Dad in the back with the dog pack while she got the lemonade. The dogs ripped the weakest in the pack limb from limb. Mom says animals are a safe intimacy, but that's because she's the alpha, the head of the pack, top dog. Her chihuahua, Peanut, bit and tugged at the back of my pajamas. Mom teased me for how little the pack respects me. Charlie recovered from the dog attack. When he was finally able to walk again, Mom brought him inside to tend to his wounds. He slipped, hit his head on the radiator. He died right there. It's never what you think is going to kill you. Except it is. When I die, I'll do it myself. When I was 25, before ever having had sex, I bought a vibrator and penetrated myself first so no one could say they took anything from me. This next poem, I'm actually really excited because the next poem I'm about to read, um, was the one that got me shortlisted for the Oxford Poetry Prize, which is really exciting. Thank you, thank you. And it appears in issue 99 of Oxford Poetry, and it's about to be translated into Italian, and I'm really excited. And it's called In 1995, the Italian Virgin Mary statue cried blood. I'm Puerto Rican in Brooklyn and can't get mercy. You must hate me now, too. In the waiting room, the blood Virgin married from my eyes. Witnesses say deer trotted across the field of my face to lap up the miracle. The now carnivorous deer leapt like Elizabeth's baby, red-mouthed, heads all wagging, limp-necked flags in a cool wind. The doctor won't see me. I don't want her to die, but she hates me now that I've arrived late, and what am I to do with the weight of all this? The red mascara I painted on this morning to look prettier than you stripes my face a flag. Everything is cinema. Trees talk to each other, did you know? Oh, chisme, and you aren't in on the joke. Plants don't bleed like us hearted ones. Veins fern just beneath my skin, saying yes. Just like that. And there. There too. Get the phlebotomist can never find the right spot. All the women hate me, and all the women look like family. God straddled the desk between me and the receptionist like a girl at recess. Legs on either side of the bench saying, don't worry about her, bitch. Your butt is getting bigger. It's the men you've been eating. And just as the trees laugh because they get the joke, the boys call us over from the window of their tech class and say, not you, just the pretty one. The waiting room watched me cry. God wept with me and our eyes bled together. Don't worry, Lord. Everyone praises your blood. Mine is just makeup. So I want to, I don't like, I've read this poem thank you. I've read this poem one time before, and it was because it was for the the like journal that it was published in was for that reading, and I was like, I'm never reading that again. But I want to read this for Victoria to like, I don't know, like a kind of like stand in solidarity. Um, I let me find what so I don't even know what page it's on. That's how little I referenced this poem. 26. So this poem is about SA, sexual assault. And so if that is something that is not something you can hear right now, like please feel free to like put off your volume, and I'll like wave when I'm done so you can know when to put it back on. Okay. Okay. I call on memory. Just when I almost have you in my mind's eye, you are a crane in the water at the park behind my grandmother's apartment, where I was going to tell you I love you in my new blue dress I bought because I thought you'd like it. Once, that good night, you touched me with your nervous mouth, a fish's lips against my skin. My skin is water, and you, at the surface, are at the precipice of another kind of air-filled life. We are coy, curved into each other like a ballerina's feet and point. Our fish bodies writhe, each slit of our ribs ripple in the wake of our rapid breath. My mouth widens like a siren's wail. My heart of sinew, sinew, rippling, rippling, you slippery, finned thing. You're a feathered, fantastic ice dancer again, scaling the pond surface with your delicate claws. I call on memory. When the night came to tell you, I love you, in my blue dress, you raped me. Ooh! Ah! I almost have it. But then the narrative. I didn't know I was raped until the nurse told me stealthing is rape. And then I fucked 8 different people in a week. And then you are a man. Where did your scales go? Those little sequins that splayed sunbeams like a fillet blade? Look, I tossed them to the pond like pennies. I wished the water red as my polished, slick acrylic nail that circled my thin clit that good night. You wear the water like a new skin or a pretty dress. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am going to read a poem that so I had a breakup recently in the August. Love this for me. Didn't love it then, love it now though. Oh, we love. And you know, I thank you. I wrote a breakup poem that doesn't read as a breakup poem, but it was my breakup poem, my version of one, because the person that I dated was a straight cis man that was like in his words traditional, and so I wrote a poem that I could like I felt like I could rest in my queerness, and it was a reflection on like a really beautiful kink experience that I had, um, and that was my breakup poem. And so this is not in the book. I just really like this poem, so I wanted to read it with you all because it's a kind of reclamation, you know. Okay, it's called "I'm Not a Prophet." I could tell by his moan it was the first time he'd bottomed. I mount him from behind. His moan is fresh water crying from the spigot. Yes, I've pushed the good book closed after the revelatory sentence. Hydrostatic divine wisdom bowing the heart. Have you? You feel like you're dying until you realize, no, you're just seeing yourself for the first time. New knowledge will do that. Pleasure is information. My heart swells like his penis as I pound him into the mattress. If he had wings, they'd all be covered with eyes and they'd all be rolling back. No, I'm not inside him. Considering my lack, I press my face into his feathers. I've opened something I cannot close. Is this okay? I ask in a whisper, and you are so good, pushing his head into the pillow. All the eyes seeing me. I perform myself a man. He moans like a revelation. Revelation's promise is always a new name. Thank you. This poem that I'm about to read is also not in the book. I wrote it around the same time that I wrote the poem that I just read. And I so I recently saw like a really scathing mean review of my book. And like that's fine because I think I'm fire and I think my book is fire. And also like no one is above critique, but like also uh so one of the things uh that I am is petty sometimes. And so I take my but I try to channel my pettiness in like healthy ways. So my way of channeling my pettiness right now is leaning into the strangeness that they criticized in my work and into the fragmentedness that they kind of criticized in my work, because I'm like, that was the point. Thanks. And so so this poem is seemingly disjointed, seemingly disparate topics, but it's this kind of like framework of defamiliarization that my book deals in. It's how I approached my book. Defamiliarization being, coming from the Russian formalists who say, that you sort of like make something strange in order to to kind of like stop, like disrupt the habitual thinking, yeah, and bring something to light, but it's a way of making strange in order to do that. And part of that is also what the artist author Jaffa does, in their practice of like what they call sequencing the notes, right? Where you take this kind of like collagist way practice that author Jaffa, says is not archival, but a way of sequencing the notes that is, that folks like Beethoven, Duke Ellington, whoever, composers, they don't create new notes. Author Jaffa says they sequence the notes. And so my book is approached in that way of bringing together disparate, seemingly disparate things to see what is engendered in that juxtaposition and in the relationships to each other, right? And so this poem, I love this title. It's really some of my finest work, and but yes, it is the sort of breeding of these seemingly disparate things, and to see what comes from that. So this is called On Threesomes and Being American. On Threesomes and Being American. The traffic decongested and I was American, being driven by a man to my doctor's appointment like blood carries a virus. Rata, the man said, looking at me as I witnessed a rat trapped between two men. The rat tried to escape through the gate. I gasped when the man hammered the rat's skull in. I have never been between two men, though I would have liked to have been. I'm in a relationship now. A traditional man who doesn't believe in threesomes. Odd, the language to not believe in, as if a threesome is an invisible entity that takes faith. Though it does take faith to believe in two men to not kill you when you're at their mercy. 2. At a party, I say I'm thinking about getting a leash and a harness to walk my 2 rats outside. Americans, my Nigerian friend says, and my Korean friend laughs. I was thinking the same thing. I tend to my rats until their end. 3. My partner wouldn't want to have a threesome. I'll never have one now, I suppose. Unless he dies. I don't want him to die. I'd rather I never experienced the threesome of my dreams, the men's bodies, the gate bars I stand between at the entrance of my pleasure. I watched the fantasy from my relationship. I watched both my American rats die. The vet injected poison into Lupita. Marigold died on my American chest. My American heart beating against my dead rat like a hammer. My dad was a proud American. He's dead now. It wasn't 2 men and a hammer. It wasn't a blood infection. It was a heart attack. The #1 American death for the #1 American. I'm alive though. I survived sepsis, living in the States, saying down with this fascist regime while scrolling for another pet to own because my ovaries are in failure. I'm bad at having eggs. I'm bad at having children. Both my rats are dead. My dad too. Welcome to the gates of hell. If you believe in hell, welcome to the gates of heaven. I believe in threesomes, though I've never seen one. I don't believe in America, though my passport is blue and I can enter most countries like an infection enters the blood. I don't know if I will survive this country. If you listen, you can hear the residual cleaning of the hammer in the distant future. When my partner has entered the gates of heaven I believe in, you can see me between 2 men screaming, yes, yes, as they hammer me. So not to leave you on that note, but I am over time. So like we're just gonna have to sit with that residual poem. Thank you so much everyone for having me. Not to like drop the mic. I'm gonna just have to drop the mic. And thank you for being here. Love y'all so much. Okay. Please invite me back.
That was wonderful and completely warrants a mic drop. Thank you so much, Daniella. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you. The only thing that brought you together originally was that you all had books coming out at the same time. And what was wonderful is they all spoke to each other so wonderfully. It was like this was, perfectly planned. And this is really wonderful and exactly what NAWP's about. Happy birthday, Taylor. Congratulations to all 3 of you for wonderful books and book launches. You should all of you in the audience, go buy these books. They're wonderful. And catch us next month. We're gonna have our 3rd annual Hanukkah reading with like 20 poets this time. And then we're gonna do another reading in January, and then I think we have is February? No,
We got
AWP is
February.
in March this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in March we'll have our AWP, our not at AWP open mic where we can all be FOMO together. Thank you, everybody. This wonderful, wonderful night. Thank you again.
Thank you all.
You everyone.